What are the symptoms as you see it?
She, there was this person that would call the house, and he would.
She lives in fear of that phone call.
That person calling the house.
You know who the person is?
Yeah, there's actually this guy that asked her to send him money to Jamaica.
Why haven't you called the police?
I did, and
I put a restraining order on it.
And I had all the numbers blocked that come into the house, but the number's from Jamaica, so there's very little we can do.
You may not be dementia. It may be just a hypnotic state where she's sort of obsessed and fearful and obsessed by the phone call.
She's obsessed.
It becomes very, very vulnerable. Then when they find out that she has little money, they get on a plane, and before you know it, she's dead, or they got her money, and you won't know how she lost it. She'd be writing. You know, I can hypnotize a person, make them write checks.
Yeah, the obligation thing, that feeling, that connection, that
everybody's vulnerable. There's not a soul that's not vulnerable to hypnotic influences.
Yeah, you showed me that. You showed me that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I had to continue doing what I did to you yesterday,
I
stand
saw
up,
that.
come over here, sit down. Before you know, I said, close your eye, go to sleep. You were gone.
That's right. Yeah, I saw that.
Every one of you have a weakness of character, including my good heavyweight champions. See, I got to be careful not to tick him off. I can't call him a fat pig.
No.
See, but he has a good sense of humor, thank God. But the point is, even he has it.
So, you know that feeling of obligation right before you...
That's right.
Is that it? I mean, is that part of it? Or
the person who's hypnotized will often say, I bring him up on the stage, and you make him change his shoes, and when you question when people talk to him or her, were you really hypnotized? I said, not really, I just felt a little obligated. I didn't want to hurt his feelings.
So that
the fact that you don't want to hurt someone's feelings is see, I'm trying to give you every possible clue to what it is you're up against. The fact you'll feel obligated. You can't say no to me.
Is there a norm?
Or to the person. That's how you know in your solar plexus. Your brain has no feeling. You can operate on a person's brain, he doesn't feel it. It's a center where you feel everything in the body, it's senses. So where you get your feelings from, your fears, and it's here, there's a nerve center here. Somehow I don't understand the dynamics of it, the mechanical, medical aspects of it. But what you fear in your head, what you'll feel in your solar plexus. You'll feel the obligation, not here. And we call that the heart. See, so if you have love, you feel it in your heart. But love is not felt in your heart at all. Of course, that's where your heart roughly is, isn't it? But it's the solar plexus is in a bundle of nerves there, which it tells you what's going on in your head. And so whenever you have a feeling of obligation and you feel under pressure and you can't say no, it's because your character has been compromised. You could feel the pull.
Yeah.
You felt the pull when I said, let me show you what I mean. Stand up. All I had to do was use a strong voice, didn't I?
Yeah, it was like a sergeant.
Well, you were gone.
It was gone. No, it was like
I mean, you could have turned around and said, what happened to my money? I could have taken your wallet and you wouldn't have known it.
Yeah,
what are you laughing at? I got your wallet. Let me show you.
But yeah.
Missing any money lately? You were up here, you know. Look, I try to make this light. I don't want to. The whole seminar has a light feeling. But even if I make you laugh, if Bob Hope is a hypnotist, he was. He's a dead one now. But that person is a hypnotist. He doesn't know he's a hypnotist.
Yeah.
He has a person. He makes you laugh.
Right.
But anybody who can make you laugh is hypnotizing you. No, I don't ever want to go. I never want to go. I don't like to watch a comedy whereby people make me laugh. Why? Because why do I need someone to make me laugh? I'm already happy. Not that you can't have a good sense of humor and have a natural sense of humor and things are really funny, but to have a person to contrive, to write in such a way it makes you laugh, and you want to laugh, and when you watch television, where it's all sort of canned laughter, it's all designed to create an atmosphere where you kind of laugh at everything, and pretty soon you're laughing with everything, even if it isn't funny.
Yeah. You're pulled in.
And what do you think a good movie is? A good movie is designed to absorb you into it, to make you forget where you're sitting in your chair. And at the same time, you can use a good movie with a lot of emotional impact to it to sell you an idea. Hitler used the propaganda against the Jews and made propaganda films showing people in a bad light. Defamation is hypnotic. You dirty swine, you dirty rat. You'll never grow up to be anything. You'll be a drunk just like your father. That kind of cruel invective, that defamation of character is what the liberals use to defame the noble and glorify the ignoble. What do you think you're seeing on television these days? The defamation. The leader of the House, Nancy Pelosi, is a hypnotist. And she succeeds in getting away because she's a woman. You don't stand up to a woman. A woman wants to yell and scream. It's very hard to correct a woman anyway.
Yeah.
But when you have a woman who's very, very willful, and she starts to have a way, and men do not know how to deal with that, and they become submissive to it, especially since they have a mother who set the stage of submissiveness. And so you have a woman like that has money and has a husband that's rich, and she gets the money from him to will her way to Congress. But on the way, and when she was there, she was defaming our troops, degrading our president. And you've heard me on the radio speaking about how disgraceful and how George Bush did not know how to handle that.
Right. Yeah.
One of my clients was Glenn Ford. One of them was Mae West. But he was only a client for a little while. He was a brave man. Brave man, but he was woman-centered. He was centered around his mother. I didn't know that till I got to meet him, but he's decent, nice, good human being. However, he has his weaknesses. He's woman-centered. And so he's super polite to women. But the feminine influence.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, I was talking about some fears he had that I can say it now, but it's not so serious that it's not so personally private that I can't talk about it. But he had some fears he didn't understand. Now, this is a man who dropped behind the German lines. You see, and then he kills a German soldier fighting for his freedom. He escapes. And then he parachutes behind German lines again. See? And he plays all the macho parts.
Right.
But he's still a compensated man. George Bush, I like him, but he's the president not because he is really a president in his own right. He is playing the role for his wife. His wife saves him from alcoholism. He was saved by the love of his wife. So he found someone who appreciates him for what he
Creates
is.
this,
And she
yeah.
believes in him, and he believes in himself. That's a
Huh.
hypnotic state.
Oh.
Well, if a woman, wide-eyed,
Yeah.
and you have a weak man, and suddenly
Her.
she sees you in the light you would like to see yourself, especially a woman who is a hypnotic creature,
Hey.
you know, just by being born. She carries this influence, sort of a one-upsman influence over men. It's well known. Use women for advertising, especially naked ones. The more excitement that you produce in a man, especially excitement, which is kind of natural to begin with, and just a little unnatural if you put a little extra excitement into it.
Yeah.
See? And so he's not really a president, but he thinks he is.
Somebody.
That's why he's not very effective.
Yeah.
Different
She was
from Ronald Reagan, who was his own man. See? Look, I like George Bush. I think he's a nice human being. But he's not presidential material, basically. And so he's done some good things, but his wife has saved him. God didn't. You see the difference? But he's got all the behaviors of a Christian, noble person. I get it. Compliments. Wonderful. It's good, but it's not good enough. He fumbles. He doesn't talk that well.
Right.
He doesn't call. There's nothing like the new lady. You know, I like her. She's, you know, there's this nice personality. It's a natural,
Natural flow.
yeah. Loves husband,
Yeah.
respectful, even though she's been nominated. So I'm not telling you to vote for her, just talking about personality.
Yeah.
I like the personality. Personality is sweet and natural and I don't know, real. And that's what you need to be. But you're all dead from the neck up, to some degree.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
And somehow I got to get you to realize the subtle influences of the world around you that own you and control you. And that's you.
Yeah.
You see? And she may not have Alzheimer's. She just may be too sensitive, super sensitive to the world around her, and she's caught up in a hail of thought, you know, obsessed by the caller and worry about the next phone call that's coming,
Yeah.
and living in terror to pick up the telephone, right?
Yes.
See that?
Well,
But that's
yeah.
not healthy. You can manage that. The doctor can't help you to do that,
Right.
but your character can rise to the occasion.
Okay.
Do you understand that? So are you meditating?
Now and then.
See, doesn't meditate. Why don't you meditate? It doesn't hurt you.
No.
Come sit up here a minute. Okay. You like me?
Sure do.
How long you known me?
Oh, maybe 20 years.
And you never meditated?
Well, I have.
But just on and off, right?
Yes.
You never follow through with it. Let me try something with you. Okay? Let's experiment.
All right.
Now keep your eyes closed. Now feel that spot right there?
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna move my thumb up like this very slowly. See that? Feel it moving up?
Mhm.
I want you to follow, you know, roll your eyeballs up, follow the movement, and your eyelids will flicker. Follow the movement of my finger upward slowly, and look, follow with your eyeballs, and just feel your eyes flickering. Feel it? You're not following yet. Go ahead, follow. There you go. See? Now now you find that it's difficult to open your eyes. Is that correct? You can't open them, can you? Good. That's correct. Now follow my finger down. Follow it down, and the eyes are still closed. Still closed, and you still can't open your eyes. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Now that your head's getting heavier. Feel the weight of your head. Feel it. Feel the weight of your head. Feel it. Feel the weight of your head, and it falls forward. Falling forward. Falling forward. Follow my hand. Now the heat of my hand. Follow it. 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 You're sleepy, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to do what I tell you. You can't get out of that chair now. Try. You can't get out of that chair, can you? No, you can't. Try. You can't get out of that chair, see? Now, you see, I am in control. And I'm in control instead of that person. That person is not in control anymore of your life.
Correct.
You understand that? I banish him from your mind.
Correct.
You feel better already.
Yes.
But I'm going to do something more than that. You love me?
You bet I do.
Then you love God, because He's in me. And I say to you that you've been forgiven because you've been a naughty girl, you've had lots of angry thoughts, and you've lived in fear and not lived by faith. You want to live by faith?
You bet.
All you have to do is trust what you know is right in your heart. And you know what's right and wrong, don't you?
Yes.
You know when I say things are good, you recognize them? Well,
Yes, I do.
all I'm doing is saying things you already know in your heart, but you've been frightened to do it because people have pushed themselves on you all your life, haven't they? And you haven't been able to deal with it.
Yes.
So if you had meditated a long time ago, you wouldn't be in this fix. But we can fix that. But you can
Okay.
fix it. You can fix it. And that person, that phone call is not going to bother you anymore. That person can't hurt you as long as you have faith. You don't care about him. He's not important. Okay? And in your life, who was the person that frightened you and made you so submissive? Tell me who robbed you. Tell me who robbed you, who really frightened you for the first time in your life, made you angry, and made you want to be a people pleaser. Who was it? You don't have memory? Any memory? No memory? Somebody you're really angry with? Have you noticed when you're angry with people, you want to please them?
Yes.
Well, don't be angry and you won't have to please them. You follow that? Pleasing will opens your mind to their ideas and their wishes. You don't live your own life, right? Okay? Right? Go to sleep and have a nice sleep. Let your head fall forward. Let your head get heavier, heavier, heavier. Just sleep. Sleep your problem away now. Let God come into your head. Feel? Let Him come in. You always wanted to be a good person. That's why you're so submissive. You think being good is being submissive to people pleasing, right? No more people pleasing. Stand up for what you believe is right.
Okay.
And you know those thoughts that run through your head? Bring your consciousness here. So be aware of the spot right here now again in a brand new way. And I want you to see like it's a television, a big widescreen television with lots of pixels. You know what pixels are? Like little flashing, tiny little sparkles of light. See it? That's God's programming. He's programming you, and He doesn't talk to you with words, but He gives you understanding. So I want you to look around when you open your eyes and see the world different. And I want you to understand that He's giving you the power not to be angry with people. You have a shield around you that keeps you from being upset, annoyed, aggravated, irritated, get your feelings hurt. See? And all those things, jealous, frustrated. No more. You have the power just to look at things, and when people are rude, you just see that they're rude. They look like a talking movie picture. See? Or they look like talking furniture. You know what I mean? That your furniture doesn't talk. You know, they will try to upset you, but you stay calm. Okay? You understand now? That's your marching orders, forever. You understand that? Okay, you can open your eyes now. How you feel?
Tired a little.
Sleepy? Why don't you go and have a rest in your room? Have a nice sleep. Then you come in after an hour or two, and you'll be nice because you've been so stressed all your life. You haven't done well sleeping, have you? Or you've made sleep to escape. All right? You want to have a rest in your room? Yeah, good. See how? Now that lady.
Thank you.
You're welcome. She needs a rest. She'll go to a nice long sleep and she'll wake up, she'll feel different. She may not have Alzheimer's at all. That stupid doctors don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
See, because I can do that to her, so could everybody else. Except I know how to undo it.
Yeah.
Now, whether it holds is up to her character.
Just
And I have to say that if a person has character, they're better off dead. All of you here, if you don't have any guts, what you so are, you're just eating machines. You're just
That's
useless eaters. Sorry. But character and confidence, which is the word meaning confidea, which means a fidelity with God. Confidea, with God. See? That's what's missing in your life. It's missing because you've allowed people to push you around, you've allowed people to upset you, and two big, strong, healthy wrestler men. That man, gentleman, is a wrestler. And yet, he's still feeble in some way. No, forgive me for putting it that way, but it's true, isn't it?
It's very true.
You're so strong, you don't want to hurt anybody. You know if you really take hold of someone and someone ticks you off, you'd kill them. You could actually, your strength would kill them, wouldn't it?
That's why I allow people to get away with a lot of
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I had a man once like that. He was huge, strong, but everybody could do anything he wanted with him. He was so strong, but when he got angry, he almost killed somebody one time. At that point, he didn't want to be angry, so in order to avoid being angry, he'd go along with everybody, but he got angry at everyone because the little Lilliputians would take advantage of him.
Well, I know one time I had a fight with a girl, and I beat her up. I didn't really do a
She
whole
probably
lot.
deserved it.
I didn't do a whole lot to her, but at the same time, the guilt from that virtually stopped me from defending myself.
Yes. Not me. I'd sooner knock you in the face as look at you. Pardon the expression, not you. Her.
But that's the way it works.
Yeah, but now, here's what you need to understand. If you could learn or realize that you have power of one thing, you have power. And if you have power over one thing, which I've been talking about for 2 days, is you can watch that little resentment before it rises and catch it as it begins to form. And you watch it and don't indulge it. Because when you eat some food, it looks tasty and it appeals to you, and you can feel the appeal. But if you indulge the idea, if you sort of like relish it, pretty soon you're into the food, and the food is into you. It's the same with resentment. When people arouse that little irritation, there's something that's very attractive that you want to wallow in it, because it helps you to feel, it turns into judgment. The watching part of it is discernment. I discern that I'm just about to get irritated. I'm discerned that I'm just about to indulge in this food and wallow in it. But the point, there's something about us when we're guilty, we need the excitement of something, even if it's angry excitement. There's two kinds of excitement, pleasure and pain. Anger, frustration, resentment, hurt feelings, they are an opiate to the mind. Because when you catch a person doing something wrong, the first thing they do is they're angry at you as a viewer, wrong for seeing that they're wrong. And if they're good enough, they can make you feel guilty and actually become an accomplice. They can threaten you to the point, if you tell the police, if you tell anybody, I'll kill your family. Now let's get on and help me take this loot out to my car. And before you know it, you're going along. And then you find yourself in the pokey because you've gone along with him and you're too weak to resist. I just made something up, but it could happen. See? And so, you need to look at the background, how you got to be that way. Because also you developed the physical strength as a compensation for that same weakness.
And conditioning.
Huh?
And conditioning. My mother used to experiment with me.
She did what she do.
She was a cook, so if I wanted to lick the spoon, that's what I did.
Yeah, but that's not so bad.
Well, but that's part of it.
Yeah.
It was way more intense than that, but that's part of
Well,
it.
because you tend to be an unhappy person and got more pleasure out of the food than was intended by God. You know?
Yeah, perhaps so.
Yeah. And maybe she would, when you get upset, she'd reward you with food.
And I find myself doing it to her. Now I'll go to the store and buy her a donut or something and give it to her for no apparent reason. It's almost like I'm fetching or something. I'm serving. I don't quite know why. I mean, that'd be after we done had an argument or something.
Yeah, you feel guilty and you want to do something nice for her. And you feed her like she did to you.
Yeah.
See? And it could be violence. Your mother could be violent to you as a kid, and as you grow up, you become violent to her. See?
Yeah.
You become like the person you've hated.
I think that's it.
And you've got to sort of, forgive me for saying it, but you didn't have a dad, you know, to moderate.
I had one, but he was more of a beast like.
Yeah, that's right.
He
So,
tried to intimidate you and scare
yeah.
you.
When I say you don't have a dad, it means he's either there,
Well, he was there for
But-
a while.
but not really there as a real father, as a beast
No.
or a wimp, one of the two, and either
He
one
was
of
the
them.
beast.
Yeah. And so the tendency is to look for your mother, look to the refuge of your mother's love, because
And she was turning me against him. I didn't realize that then, but she would just say bad things about him, just little slight things.
and then makes you hate him more, and look to your mother's reassurance because
Yeah, and he would always seem like the perfect person to hate
yeah.
because he was mean.
Well, but you can see what your mom did to you.
Yeah.
She emasculated you. But the compensation for that, you became a wrestler, right?
No, I was one in high school.
Oh, high school. Oh.
Yeah.
You didn't become a professional wrestler.
No, no.
Oh, all right. And see me outside. I'll take care of you.
You could knock me over with a feather. Man.
No. See, we have a little natural humor here. That's not the same as being funny. That's not the same because some people are so miserable they learn how to be funny. That's a compensation. They make everybody laugh, and to make everybody laugh, they feel happy themselves. That's a clown, laughing on the inside, crying on the outside. Yeah, laughing on the outside, crying on the inside. So you're compensating for the femininity. You don't want to be like your father, so you're so submissive like your mother, because your mother enabled that quality and set him up. You know what I said yesterday about when you yield to a bully, he becomes more of a bully?
Yeah.
When a woman, women tend to give themselves to men for whatever reason, either cleverly, cunningly, knowing what she's doing, or as a wounded dove, globbing onto the first guy and giving herself to him, thinking he's a good, loving man, but not realizing that when she gives herself to a man unconditionally like that, not knowing what kind of personality is in there, she's giving her life force to an unwashed man. When I say unwashed, because there's an ego in there, and when you feed the ego, when you feed your children's ego by giving into them, you turn them into either weaklings for you or beasts. Because once they feel the power, once they feel the pleasure, once they feel that sense of rush of importance, they will become more ruthless for the sake of getting it. Although you give it self-voluntary, after a while you'll find yourself giving it compulsively and hating the man. And the more you hate him, the more guilt you feel, the more guilt you feel, the more you want to give yourself to him, hoping that it will please him. And all it does is make him worse.
I think it wasn't coffee.
No. Now, but you see how that works with you. The more you resent your mother, the more you want to please her.
Yeah.
The more you want to get love from her through the pleasing. And all she does is reinforce your feebleness.
Yeah, she pushed my buttons.
But the point is, you don't want to be like the brutal father. So the only other alternative is to be the kindest man you can to be your mama.
And that turned into being a pusher.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Everybody in my family owes me money.
You must have a very bright man to have so much money to be owed.
Yeah.
What kind of business are you in?
Well, I was a pressman at LA Times. I wasn't that bright, but
You did a good job.
I saved my money.
That's good. But how old are you now?
53.
It's about time you saved your money. And
Get away.
yeah, get away or knock on the door and take hold of their collar and say, "You owe me money." Hey.
I never did that.
Yeah. See, but what I'm trying to say to you, to make a point, is that if you're a strong person, you need not to worry about what people think of you. You see, you have fallen away from your innocence because of your home life. And you see the behaviors so you feel inferior, not worthy, and guilty. And you feel like you don't want to hurt anybody. So you try to avoid the hurt that you could do if you're angry by being submissive and kind. And you can't, so when people knock on your door, they sense it. They're homing in on you like they're homing on my lady friend here. They home in on you. And the word gets around that they can home in on you. And you don't know how, and if you can't say no once, you can't say no twice. If you can't stand up, if you can't speak up for yourself and say no. Now, what happens when you say no, you'll feel it in your solar plexus. Is that correct? You feel the pull. That's a hypnotic state. That describes a hypnotic state. But this is how you describe it. I don't want to hurt his feelings. It's your own feelings that you're concerned about. See, because if you say no, they pull the rug from underneath you, their approval.
Yes.
But you need that to happen. You need to give up all your friends. Every single one of them. They're not your friends, they're parasites. So, but the point is, when you say no, you find it difficult to say no because your sense of who you are is based upon going along with them and they giving you a brownie button. And that brownie button is an acknowledgement for your worth, which is worthless. It just sets you up to give even more until there's nothing left. And inside you start to boil and get angry. And the very anger you're trying to avoid is growing up in you. Is that right?
Yes.
And then it becomes a disease and you have a heart attack and you're eating yourself to death. And they said, oh, isn't he a fine person? And they give you a nice casket, an old piece of wood, wooden chest, they shove your body in there. And nobody attends your funeral. See that?
Mm-hmm.
They don't care for you. Nobody loves you.
I see it.
I love you.
Thank you, sir.
But I don't love you mushy. I love you because you see in me what I see in you, don't you? You see in me what you'd like to have in your dad.
Yeah, I wish he was like you.
Well, but it's good enough. There's something about a dad. He only has to be home 10 minutes a day. That 10 minutes with that kind of presence, a few words, he doesn't have to bounce you on his knee. He could be at work all day long and your mother could be working in the kitchen and you'd be hanging around there. And as long as you are a man, and you have a light in you, and you're in charge of the home, and you don't let mama have undue influence over the kids, say, young woman, it's my place to correct my son. Stand back. And you say it with enough firmness, kindness, but mean it. Like my mafia friend, he meant it, but you know, it's strong. When I say to my kids, time to go to bed, kids, and they don't listen, just a minute, Dad, I said, time to go to bed. Can I have 5 more minutes? All right, 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes passed, they're playing me now. I said, it's time to go to bed. Let's go. And I chase them up the stairs with a loud voice, but there's no anger in it. And they all start to laugh. They're not afraid. When you play dragon with them, boogeyman with them, they love, they know you don't mean it, but it's giving them a practice of how to deal with boogeymen, but you're not really a boogeyman. See? And they run up the stairs, but they're not afraid. It's just playful. But they need that strength. Not say, please, go to bed now, please. 5 more minutes, okay. 5 minutes passes. Time to go to bed. Oh, how about 15 more minutes, Dad? Oh, Dad! See, and pretty soon you got 40 minutes, and pretty soon you don't go to bed at all. Pretty soon you get so tired you go to bed yourself. You know? Something like that. I can't make things up. It's hard to do. I like to talk from experience, but the principle is, see? So, do you think you can assert now you can assert your rights as a man?
Yeah, I think I could do better.
Only have to do it one time, and your knees will knock. It's a funny thing. You're a big, strong guy. You say no to a 150-pound man or a 100-pound woman, and your knees will knock. You'll feel a weakness in your knees as you set aside the old method of conforming. Let the pull pass. There's always a pause. You don't have to come back. You don't have to instantly say no. You don't have to instantly say yes. Pause. It's the pause that refreshes. Is that little pause. And it may be just a second or two. It may be a minute. It may be a pause that says, I'll think about it. And then you don't think about it.
Yeah, but they never let up.
Then when they come back at you, you say, did you hear me say, I think about it? Well, since you're pressuring me, the answer is no. I'm not yielding to your pressure. It's enough already. Now get lost.
Okay,
That's how you talk to them. And they'll never talk to you again because the only use they have for you is your money. That's the only use they have.
Come to think of it, it's the only time they talk to me. Some of them, you know, mostly.
You know what? You don't have a family. And you're not married, are you?
No, I'm not.
Lucky for you. Otherwise, you know,
Yeah, I got 11 brothers and sisters.
yeah. I got one brother, and I just keep him long, long way in England. We're not family. That's not family. You know who's family? What Jesus says, who is your mother and father? Remember, who is your mother? He says, everyone who does the will of the Father. That is my mother.
People who think like me is my family.
Yeah, you're my family. We're brothers in the same spirit. You see?
Yes, sir.
This is what we need in the human race. This is what we need to understand. We all have the same problems. Whether you're born in Borneo in Australia, or you come from Africa, or you come from the Sudan, or you come from Iceland and Eskimo land. We're all the same. There's a sweetness of spirit. But if I go to China right now, I'd find people like you. I got the feeling I'm ready to fight the whole world all the time. Just give me the platform. See, that's how my feeling is. I want to do more. I want to take down the psychiatrists. I want to take down the IRS, especially the IRS.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. I was lost. I want to take on the medical psychiatrist. I said psychiatrist, didn't I? I want to help the country. I want to wake them up so we are not enslaved. And of course, the powers that be are very conscious of that. They're monitoring me all the time. They're taping me all the time, looking for what. This is a free country. You think I can say what I want, but I'm a church, so I can't say anything during an election. But they're just hoping that I'm a loose cannon, I'll slip. Got that? They're monitoring. They've been asking me for 7 years. I've done nothing wrong. I said something about Al Gore. You know, it was just a remark. They've let that go, it's not a big deal. But they want to take my church status away. They don't want to take Reverend Wright's church status away. They want to take mine. See? I said no. 7 years. It's cost you guys a lot of money, but I have to be a church for a very special reason. Okay? For a very, very special reason. But the churches don't like me because I help people. You're not my sheep. I want you to be real men and real women. But you've got a lot to make up for. You've lived so long that way. See, but each one of you has the look. So if I was the predator, I can look through the eyes of a predator, except I'm not a predator. I pick out your weaknesses. I know exactly how to settle up to you. You wouldn't know it. I don't have to say, I'm going to hypnotize you. That's not the way it works. You can hypnotize a person against their will. You don't need their cooperation. All I have to do is say, stand up. Stand up a minute.
For what?
Stand up.
For real?
Yeah. She still did it. She still did it.
Wait a minute.
She still did it. She hesitated for a few minutes and became it.
It's funny.
Did you feel it?
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Very funny.
That's the beginning of the hypnotic state.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that to you. I want to show
I
it.
know.
I want to show it to you.
I know it's all over.
Ruthie, I love you. I've known you how many years?
Since I was 13.
It's the best bookkeeper I've had. I've got a very good one now. But you stood the test of years. Worked for 9 years with me. And when she left, disaster.
No.
It was.
I'm going to speak up.
Yes. Now it's time.
I've been waiting for you to call on me.
Oh no, you didn't have to.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I tried a couple of other times.
Then go ahead.
I'm a 77-year-old non-person. I mean, inauthentic person.
Yes.
And I know where it came from. You know, I hear thinking back on things, and I guess a couple of little items would pretty well explain it. And
Can you stand up so people can see you? So, because you know what we need? We need some little. I'm talking to my friends in the control room. We need little small speakers with soft volume, so that there's no feedback, so people can hear in the back. They have difficulty sometimes hearing because bodies actually. Well, if there was nobody in the room, then she could be heard. But your bodies absorb the sound. But I hope that you're absorbing the meaning,
Yeah.
not just the sound. You know. Go ahead. Thank you.
I was 3 years old before the penny
I'm
dropped
going to do some sign language.
that I was a girl. Anyway, I was 3 years old before the penny dropped that I was a girl.
Yes.
And I was appalled.
Your mother made you into a boy?
No, I identified with my father and found my mother sucky and so forth. And so at the age of 3, the penny finally dropped that I was actually a girl and not going to grow up to be like my father.
Yes.
And I was appalled, absolutely appalled. And
3 years old, that's pretty, to be that aware at 3 years old is,
I was a very aware little person.
yes.
I came in bright. And Anyway, by the time I was 5, I had accepted it. And I don't think I got mad at God. I was aware of
Accepted
God,
the fact that you.
that I was a girl. I was going to grow up to be a woman, not like my father.
Yes. But you could have had the strength of your father with the nature of the woman. You
Yes.
still had the strength. It's okay.
I think I have some of it.
Some of the common sense, the outspokenness, the flowing freedom of saying and living as you know what is right.
But a few things happened to me that I have never really understood. I had one very dark moment at about, I'm not sure what age, but say between 5 and 6,
Yes.
in which it was like somebody was, I was in a nap state, and somebody was pressing on my navel, and it just pressed and pressed and pressed until I went into total blackness and unconsciousness.
Was it a person or just?
I don't
or
think
just like
there
a
was.
spiral, like a spiral?
I don't think there was any human agent involved.
There was a person the other day that mentioned about falling into a black hole.
It was the old man on Sunday.
It was the old man. What did he say?
He said when he was a teenager, he fell into a.
A
it
dark-
just- it-
oh
it-
yes,
yeah.
that was one of the Sunday morning
Ah,
sessions.
yes,
Yeah, he remembered also having experienced like yourself.
Yeah.
At a certain point, he had an awful upbringing, and but he never remembered the awful upbringing. All he remembered is sitting in school one day and suddenly everything went round and round and round and round, and he blacked out. And when he woke up, he only knew this, that he was no good, but he couldn't remember what made him no good. He could remember that he hated his mother and father. All he could do is remember that he was running away from home. And he couldn't admit, how can a little good boy admit how hard it is to admit that you hate your parents? So you block that part out. But then you block out that part, you don't know how to deal with the part you blocked out because you don't know what it is you're dealing with. You have to understand. So I got him to understand that.
Yeah.
That black hole is you falling into your thoughts and your feelings. So you become
Yeah.
a thought-feeling person.
I'm not aware of anything that triggered it. It just,
It was
Yeah.
an accumulation of
An
things.
accumulation.
Accumulation of things, the straw that breaks the camel's back.
but I had already started to pass a judgment on my mother because of the way my baby sister, my younger sister, was ill. I think we came in, there were 3 of us. My older sister was the most healthy, and then I was next, and I was less, I think, though quite healthy. And our baby sister had ulcerative colitis, born that
That
way.
tells me a lot about your mom.
Yeah. She was very sucky. I mean, I did not like to,
You said parasitic,
yeah,
vampirish.
yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
And I think that she was basically a good person, but
Not really.
she had a really evil entity.
Did you hear me say yesterday, if I may hold you there for a minute, that certain diseases like what's that cancer disease where I mentioned
Leukemia?
leukemia is caused by that kind of personality.
Yeah.
See, and also cancer and other forms of it. Often you see often you'll see a picture of a whole family. Grandmother's the healthiest. Mother is the next healthiest on the scale. And the older daughter is all right. She's not as healthy as the mother. And it seems to be like grandma is the chief vampire. See, and each one of those people in turn are drawing from each other. This is what you were talking about in your own family.
Yeah. I
By
didn't.
force.
Our family never talked about anything, so I don't know exactly the history. But one thing from my grandmother was that she was the only girl and a bunch of boys, and she would tell me that her nose was so long because her brothers were always pulling at her nose. And so from that I gleaned that she,
Hated them.
that she had been tormented and she hated them. And my mother was definitely a man-hater.
Yes.
And so this raised this conflict in me where
You don't want to be like
my
your
fa-
mother, so you want to be like your father.
yeah.
You
And my
do that.
father was really a very tall, strong, principled person, but he didn't know what to do about her.
Who does?
He really didn't.
No.
And
But
so,
but you've laid a very interesting foundation.
yeah.
Now yourself. Now
So,
yourself.
There were a lot of other little incidents in there, but basically,
I don't need
by the
whole-
time,
I don't
no,
need the
I
story.
want one more thing though.
Yes.
I was about, I would say about 7 years old when I consciously told my father the first lie. I consciously first lied to my father where I was doing it. And the incident was so trivial in a way, but a window had been broken in the house, and my mother was, which one of you kids did this, you know? And nobody would own up because I don't think any of us did that. But she wasn't going to let us go to the movie that night, and we lived out in the boonies where the movie was once a month or something like that. It was a big deal. And I felt so bad about everybody being deprived of that movie that I sidled up to my father and said, "Daddy, I think something tells me I did that." You know, and I knew that I was lying.
Yeah, but it wasn't a bad lie, but it was, you know,
Beginning of a weakness.
it's trying to, how can I say, were you saving yourself, basically? You wanted
No.
to go to the movie. What was the reason?
The,
What was the reason?
the unhappiness in the family because we weren't going to get to go to the movie
That's
with other
right,
sisters.
So then did your father punish you?
No, my father was a very,
So
he didn't
how is
punish
it
us.
How is it this is so traumatic? This should not be
Because-
so- no, shouldn't be so traumatic.
Because we all went to the movie,
Yeah,
but something had happened to me
yes,
in that lie.
yeah.
I betrayed
First
myself
lie
and him.
leads to the second and the
Yeah.
third and the fourth. It's the entrance point. If you don't go on if you're afraid to go on your bicycle, I said yesterday, and you don't get on there, you're afraid to swim, you're afraid of the water. If you don't cross that threshold, you never get to be the kind of person you do. But if you do cross the threshold and you see money on the table and you steal it, you cross a different threshold downward. Again, different kind of threshold. One is you're afraid to cross it. One is that you're tempted to cross it, to do something wrong. And the minute you do that, you're not the same person anymore. It's that one single moment where the entity of life enters you. See? So whatever urged you to do that, something came in with that.
Well, I think something came in with the black hole. Because I was ill after that. I had not been ill, but I had several unpleasant illnesses after that, and I would never tell my mother when I was ill.
What is your conflict now? What is your conflict now? Now you're here for
My-
a reason.
Well,
Because
what brought
what
me
is your
here,
particular reason for being here?
I'm questioning. I've been meditating, and I'm sort of thinking that I'm maybe not be doing it quite right because I don't see light mostly, but then I think sometimes I do see something, and sometimes I see things, and
Come sit here with me. Come sit here with me.
and then I realize that if I'm seeing things, I have to be seeing by a light. You know,
It's not quite like that.
I'm seeing something here with my eyes closed and it's all dark, but I'm seeing maybe a
When
figure.
you close your eyes in a dark room, is it everything dead, pitch black?
Not pitch black, dark.
But yeah, I close my eyes in a room, or if I enter a dark room and there's no light on at all, I can see what you see with your eyes closed, all those little pixels dancing in front of it.
I don't. I have that happens, and it's been happening more lately. In
Well, that's
particular, it's
being
beginning to
conscious.
start here.
Your consciousness is returning.
Yeah.
When I know that there are people who absolutely, the only thing they see is pictures in their minds and thoughts in their head, and the whole world is sort of inside their head.
Yeah.
And so But it's very hard to help people like that, and there are people who have, how can I say this? I said to my grandson the other day, I said, you see those little pixels here? And I got him to close his eyes. Yeah, Grandpa, I can see that. Okay, transfer the energy to the hand. And transfer that energy you see here will become a tingling, represented as a tingling in your finger, which means energy is flowing from within you. And so when you close your eyes or walk into a dark room, and actually the room is dark, but still you see those little pixels dancing in front of your eyes. Do you know what I'm talking about? Sometimes it interferes with the shadows, the furniture in the room, and it can make them seem like they move. It's only because those pixels are getting in the way. See, that is how God communicates with you. That's what's called the light. So therefore you see by reflected light. You see in two ways. Your eyes see in two ways. By reflected light. So like an animal. And this reflected light goes into your head like a picture. And if you are lost in the pictures, then you are separated from that light. The light can't come through unless you're positioned properly. If you're positioned properly, the light comes through, so therefore your eyes see the images through the retina, dance in your brain, so you see what you see, but you also perceive what you see. So it's almost like this. I'm looking through my eyes, and I just want to describe it to you so you get it, because this is an important technical part of it. So you're looking with your eyes like an animal would. But as a human being, you're also looking through your eyes. You're looking at the picture in your brain. And you're perceiving the person. You're looking at, so therefore, there's something about the person that is other dimensional. Good, I see where you're coming from, sir, right? I see where you're coming from. You're not just a person sitting there. The cat looking at you will be a person sitting there, and one expects you to give him a saucer of milk if he purrs enough. See? Or rubs your leg enough. You know, it's like human beings. But I'm not looking at you as just an object or a person sitting there with a name. I'm looking at you as a person that has a shining from another side. I see where you're coming from, or I can see where you want to come from. See that? But an animal can't see that. He may feel the dog whisperer has that influence not only of his own mind and body, but he knows how to transfer that to be the master of the dog, the master of the monkey, the master of the snake, the lion tamer. So dog whisperer is really a person who deals with human beings. You see, the human beings are so weak. They let the animal knows that they're feeble. The animal takes advantage of them. They're afraid of their animal. They're too nice to the animal. The animal is a creature that recognizes authority. He knows when he's beaten. He knows when something's stronger than himself. A human being has not just physical strength stronger than himself. I once saw a movie, not a movie, it was a Movietone news clip. We used to get our news going to the movies. And then you hear the music, da-da-da, da-da-da-da-dun, da-dun, da-dun. And then the silly old voices, you know, making glorious sounds out of every scene, you know, making everything seem more important than it really is. But then there was this elephant scene in Africa. And this man says he could stop an elephant by mind power. And it was set up for that. And I watched it. And I didn't think that was any special effects at all. So here comes this elephant. He stands there. He stands downwind, upwind, so the elephant senses him. And here comes this elephant. It comes rushing towards him. And he's standing there, and the cameras are rolling. And the cameras were, 16 millimeter. They weren't that great. But you could see it. Well done. Well, most of the movie tone news were 16 millimeter, see? Not 35 millimeter like we have today. And the elephant's coming, and all of a sudden, within 50 feet of that man, that elephant hit what appeared to be an invisible wall. And it was such a shock that he ran into it, and his whole body accordioned upward. And all the dust flew off of his, skin. And I said, this is an interesting thing. It is possible. I've seen it in my own life. That I don't know how he willed that to happen, because I don't know how to will something to happen. I'm just going to amplify this, if you don't mind. Because I learned, if I can just get away from the subject, come back to it again, mosey back to it, to make it more palatable. When I was a professional hypnotist, I discovered I could get inside the minds of people. But then I found that I can hear that from here. Too loud. But I just wondered if I could affect people with my mind. So I had a secretary who was kind of, not a strong person, but very malleable lady, but kindly. So I didn't have any business one day. I said, let's try it. She asked me, can you influence me? I said, well, let's see. And so I wrote down on a piece of paper, we had very sparse furniture in there, just a desk, and a coat rack, like a tree, coat tree, I think. And so there was a coat hanger hanging on it. I said, I want you to take the coat hanger in the other room and put the paper down. So I just sat there, and she walked around and looked. And when she walked past the coat tree, is that the right word for it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something pushed her against it. She actually fell against it. Mm-hmm. And then she says, oh darn, that darn coat hanger. And she took it in the other room. So see? Now this was disturbing to me. It was very disturbing to me. I had the power to influence people's lives. But I did not like it. I felt that was ominous. That was a very dangerous side of me to develop. Because then it would be something you call my will. Mm-hmm. This is not good to impose your will upon other people. As to this day, I do not look into the minds of people except they give me permission. And one way they give me permission is to have a malevolent intent towards me. Mm. I'm okay with that. But I do not look into anybody's mind. I do not look into anybody's motives. I do withhold my judgment, and I make sure I do not make any attempt to manipulate in any way, shape, or form, mentally, emotionally, or physically. Because this is very dangerous. So I have been rewarded. Magical things happen on their own. So if I'm given to believe something is all right, it's going to happen, it will. But I don't predict that it will happen out of my own cleverness. I just know in advance something's going to happen, and it does. There's something's going to be all right when it does, and something's going to go wrong when it. I know these things, and I can avoid it. I can tell you the future of America. I'm not going to do it right now. It's a political season. I can tell you what's going to happen if. But I can't tell you what's going to happen. I won't dare talk. It's too political. Can't talk about it. I'm tempted to talk about it. So I stop right there. But what I'm trying to tell you, you don't have to really look things. Go out and you see something and you want to buy it. You want somebody and you want to get married. Because anything you want, it has to do with ego. So remember what I said yesterday, it's not you that wants, it's it that wants through you. Yes, you can make things happen. Yes, you can go out, rush and buy something in the store and you pay $200 for it and it's on sale next week for $100 and you wish you hadn't bought it. And then you didn't have much use for it anyway, it's just in the garage. See, there's got to be things that happen to you because the good Lord wills it. And if something unpleasant that happens to you, you have to endure it. But when you come out of it, on the other side, you get the benefit of it. Because it's a whole life lived by faith. I don't know how to say it better than that. And so, does that mean anything to you? What
Oh,
I
of
just,
course.
what does it mean to you?
Well,
No,
Sorry,
that is how I try to live my life, by faith, and I don't.
but you didn't know how.
Well,
You want-
I didn't quite finish the story. There are a couple of points that I would like to explain about how I became a non-person, and that was there were a lot of tormenting situations in our home, and what I did about it was to stuff it. Stuff it.
Yeah.
During that period, it was probably maybe 5 years or 6 years along in there, I learned to control pain, physical and
Suppress.
live through, suppressed pain, physical and emotional. And I think in this period of time, I sort of killed all of my spontaneity.
Yes.
And so I can remember being a happy-go-lucky kid running down the hill, leaping over rocks, bushes,
Sure.
you know, sure-footed as a mountain goat.
Yes.
And I've lost that. And I've lost spontaneity. And I've lost some of the joy of life.
Yes.
And, you know,
I picked on you right away because I saw that. You
Yeah.
know, that's why I picked on you the very first day.
well, I was going to speak up. I mean, it was right there.
Yeah.
And so the physical condition that I have is not the worry, it's this other thing that I have to come through in order to face and deal with that.
That's correct.
And so that's basically why I came here,
See,
is to
but
have
you
you
can
sort
do
of
that.
take a reading and say, or kick me in the butt or whatever.
Well,
And
I'm confirming, my presence confirms what you already know.
Uh-huh.
Now, what are you going to do about it? Now,
Well,
what-
see, I'm trying to stop being a 77-year-old non-person. I'm trying to start my next life.
I know, but now, do you really mean the word try when you say try?
I'm doing it.
You're doing it. But you do understand the implication of trying is only going to make it worse.
Yes, I'm doing it.
In other words, you see it.
But it's one day at a time.
That's right. So the fact that you're sitting up here
It's
talking
amazing.
about it is an amazing thing.
It is an amazing thing.
I see you coming to life. I see
Yeah.
you as that little girl now, coming to life,
It's
not
nice.
being a non-person to me. Because something happened a little while ago that you didn't mind coming up, sitting on
Well,
this chair.
a couple of times like yesterday when the lady was talking about the Adam and Eve thing and the jealousy, that occurred to me when I was there as a 3-year-old thinking, this isn't right. God can't do that to me, you know. And there was that sense all around you as a child that boys were better than girls. Not superior, better. And I couldn't see how that was. I could see that they were stronger. I could, or faster, or something like that. And I didn't understand the superior until much later, when we get it on the level of rank.
Well, women have a role. Women have, if I may just make an adjustment here, women are not inferior. This is an important point. As we talk, I need to sort of clarify. I want you women to understand, I never consider women inferior. And I'm inferior to God. But not really inferior. I'm subject. I'm gladly subject. It's an honor to be subject to your Creator. But in the same way, a woman should be honored to be her honor to serve the good in a man. Because that's also a roundabout way of loving her God directly. Because that's a role. That's not an inferior position. It's not inferior if I love Ronald Reagan, you know. So if he would ask me to do something, it would be my honor. I would not consider myself being inferior, and he wouldn't look down at me being inferior. I just look up to respect, looking to a man that I respect. And it is a joy to respect the respectable. It is a joy because in a way, whatever role you're playing, whether he's the president and I'm lower down the rank, but he should look upon me kindly and think of me to, you know, to serve him. It would be my honor. I wouldn't feel important, but the honor would be I serve the good in the man, and I see the good in the man is my honor, my joy. And the joy happens to be not the puffed up feeling like I'm important, because some people could get that. They get a rush. But the joy comes from in a roundabout way, loving the good in the man. If I embrace the good in that man, I am actually embracing the God in myself. See? And so women in the divine order, the trouble is, how can you embrace your husband when he's a do you know what I mean? Or he's a wimp.
Yeah.
How can you embrace him? How can you honor him? And but if you're an ego yourself, you set him up to dishonor him, because again that rush. So a woman can either serve a man as a way of weakening him, and if the man is weak and you serve a weak man and you think he's a strong man, you're going to find out the hard way that he's a beast or a wimp for love. You see how that is? So isn't it important to have a father that's noble? You see? Your father wasn't a bad guy, was he?
No, he was a noble man. It was just the thing with my
He
mother.
couldn't handle it.
I mean, he was like he was constable in the county where we were, and when he took that job, he took a lesser pay, but he stood up to like his brothers-in-law who were poaching out of season and things like that. So he was a stand-up guy.
Yeah. But you know
But
what
he
about
could
you?
not-
You know about you? What makes it you savable is that you love the father. You still love that
Yeah.
father. But
No.
did your mother set you up to hate him?
You know, she avoided saying anything against him.
But the point is, did she affect you that way?
No,
She didn't.
no.
You've always loved your father.
Yeah. When my father died, you said you felt something when your father died.
Yeah.
I felt something, but I didn't feel loss because I felt he was with me.
Sweet. But you know what makes it easy now? What makes it easy? See, because my job, let me just rephrase that. How many times have you heard me, have I said it many times, or have I said it at all? That when I start to help a human being, the kind of woman, especially the woman, and I want to refer to the female of the species, the woman I can help the best, that even though the father's a drunk, she somehow knows the reason why he's a drunk because he doesn't know how to deal with that wife,
Yeah.
her mother. And she in her perception, her perception means that she loves God. So she hasn't lost her perception about her father, even though the mother has set him up to look like a bum and a drunk and a two-timing loser.
Yeah.
So, but you see, it's the fact that you see, and that mind of yours is still very much alive because you still have a love of the father you could see.
Yeah.
He is no more, but you still have that conditioning you can overcome. And all I'm doing is now saying,
Yeah.
you can exert that.
Yeah, I have to learn to stand up. I'm in a situation, well,
Can you do it here? Can you do it with people? Are there people who may bother you here that you need to say, excuse me? There needs to be
I can if there's,
if it's needful.
but if it's needful, but they'd
You
have to
can
be,
do it now. Do you think
they'd
you
have
can
to
do
be
it now?
pretty, yeah, but
You think-
they'd have to be pretty egregious.
That's right, but you would do it.
Of course I'd do
And
it.
I say, are we?
You know, I wouldn't let your house burn down and not warn you. But I wouldn't put myself forward to do something if there was somebody else there that was doing it.
Yeah, no. Now you have showed, what you've just shown is a different person that came in here.
Well, it was,
You-
in a way, the same person, except that I have it sitting through this a lot that's germinated and generated.
Yeah, that's right. But now that you're talking to me, I see a light. I see a strength in
Yeah.
you, character strength
Yeah.
that needs to start expressing
Yeah.
itself.
When I look in the mirror, I see sad eyes.
Yeah, I see it too, but I see beyond it. Okay.
Good.
You don't need help. And this lady is going to be just fine. A year from now, you're going to come back in a year from now, 6 months from now. I'd like to see you again.
Yeah,
We'll have another
that
seminar.
would be nice. I want
And I won't
mention
I
one
won't
more
recognize
thing.
you. I won't recognize you.
This trip up here myself, that I came up here myself, is probably about the first thing I've ever kind of done on my own.
Yes.
I've done a lot of things, but they've always been somebody else's trip.
Yes.
I've enjoyed it and learned a lot. I've participated, but this is the first thing I've really done on my own in God knows how many years.
It's a beginning.
Yeah.
A new beginning. So which it says, doesn't matter how old you are, it's never too late. Yes. John.
Next night.
John.
I just, when I saw her get up to walk forward, when you said, come on, stand up, and I mean, I'm talking to you as well, I saw something right in her facial expression, and I misread it. I wasn't sure, what's that? But when she got up and started talking, what I saw it was she made a commitment at that moment to go through anything, to go through fire, humiliation, anything to get better. And that's powerful.
You know, I do some dramatic things with people on the stage. I didn't make this dramatic, did I?
No.
It was not necessary. Because the spirit's already there. It's already moving. The fact that she came up from
That's actually courage. That's courage.
That's courage, yeah. And I appreciate you. Anybody else have a question? Yes?
Yeah, Roy, throughout my life, I seem to have been victimized by all the worst people in the
Yeah,
world.
we've discussed that before.
Yeah.
What else is new? Why do you keep repeating that? Every time you open your mouth,
Yeah.
you do the same thing.
I don't know.
What do you want me to do? Come to your rescue?
No.
Well, it's only because of weakness of character, right?
Right.
Have you understood the mechanism? Have you understood how resentment opens the door?
Yeah.
And in comes the suggestion and the nature of the person with it. And ladies and gentlemen, my friends, you do see that the kind of suggestibility that has been ingrained in you is not mere suggestibility. It's not just mere suggestibility. What it is the weakness of character or the weakening of your character. Because when you're young, you have spirit. But that spirit can be broken by the cruel pressures, the mean-spiritedness of the people who apply the pressures which become suggestions. Because what you have is a mean-spirited person who then doesn't like you and sees that you are neophyte, you're kind of innocent, you don't know the ways of the world. And that's sort of very tempting. Because vampires love old people, and the story of vampires is that they love old people, feeble. No disrespect, because you're not feeble. But generally, people are old feeble. The longer they live, the more feeble they become, or the more bitter they become, and then die from alcoholism and bitterness and that sort of thing. But the mythical vampire, they're really people. They're vampirish people, but they home in on that naivete, that ignorance, that lack of street knowledge, streetwise. Because they come in wide-eyed and sort of sweet and beautiful and ready to unfold like a flower, and all they come is crushed. Crushed. But the people before them are crushed. And the great-great-grandfathers, we are preceded into the world by crushed and broken people. And we just take their place. Typecast, as I said the other day, typecast. In the movies, you have typecast people. And all the generations for making movies for 100 years, you've always got the typecast people. The maiden in distress, the drunk, the hypocritical preacher, all have the same MO. Isn't that right? We grow up certain ways to be imitations. Imitation, false replacement people. We die. But every now and then, as breeders, we deposit a person that's different from all others. And I look at the sprinkling of people here with the hope that deep inside you, see, a lot of people are not here because they've made it. Or they're not ready, they think they have what they haven't. Because you can be intimidated by your own unfinished business of your past, which keeps coming up for review. That's what the unfinished business is. You're not finished with it. But if you resent, as it comes up for review to be resolved, and you resent it, bang. It's like being angry at the person all over again inside you. So you have a traffic accident, you have a dented fender, and you go home, and throughout the night you can't get to sleep because the accident keeps happening over and over again and you're resenting the person. Can you imagine a whole life of that? Just add other things to it. And no wonder you have a nervous breakdown. And it's this person that influenced you, so that person's influenced you, and this person's influenced you. And there's so many influences, you know where you're coming and going. That's a nervous breakdown. Utter confusion. Or somebody will get together and sort of make sense of your life. And so all of a sudden, you focus on this person and to the exclusion of everything else, and you feel like you've been saved because at least you're seeming to be serving a definite purpose and doing something good. And you're selling flowers on the street for Hare Krishna. See what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, I don't want you to be followers. I want you to be friends. I want you all to know that even as you stay here, there's opportunities for you to stand up. You need to complain. Oh, the food's not good or something. Say something. Just don't think it.
There was no hot water the first night.
Now she's saying. I gave her permission to say it. That's not the same thing. I now give you permission to speak up. That's role playing. So, can you do that? Do you think you can do that now? How many people understand that's your weakness? You don't speak up. But you don't speak up because you're intimidated, and that blocks you. It blocks you. And once that happens, it only has to knock on your door once, and you react and don't speak up, and you apologize for being right. Have you ever apologized for being right? You know what I'm talking about? Yes. Okay.
I guess I'm ready to speak up.
Can you stand up because you have a very soft voice?
Not normally.
Well, I didn't know you that tall.
I mean, sit down. Sit down. Last night when I started waking up, I actually kind of grabbed the microphone from people and took over. And I see it wants to hide again, so I want to talk about it.
What's it?
The dark side.
Dark side seat.
I was talking at I'm sorry. I was talking at dinner time with Melody because this is the lady. She was the opposite of me. I could not speak up. I needed to be goody two-shoes. I never had the right words. That's what I never had the right words, I thought. But I had also become what she was going back and forth, the wimp and the bull. And so I was asking her how she got motivated these people when she was a bull, because she got fired from it.
Yes.
And she started telling me, how to get them to do things. And as I was listening to it, it was the spirit behind it that was causing the people to get upset with her. And when
so the pressure behind her upset her and made her submissive to the her bosses, which in turn translated into being bossy, but he gave you the authority. But they robbed you of power. When you submit to a boss and you want to hold on to your position, you're subservient. That's the subservient side. But if they put you in a role, if you have that personality and you're willing to express your anger like they are, then you become a clone of that. And then you begin to act with their authority, which is not healthy.
I did their dirty work.
But
You did their dirty work.
And they look good.
And in the army, you'd kill for them.
Yes.
In the army, you'd kill for them. See?
But what I saw when she was saying that, all of a sudden I realized the words she was using wasn't important. It was the spirit behind it.
Yes.
And I always hid from people sometimes. And like yesterday, I went and took a nap instead of go down and talk to people because I didn't want to face them because I didn't know what to say to them. And I always thought it was the words, that I needed the words, and I never had the right words. But that wasn't it. It was the spirit I didn't have, and I didn't want to bring out.
That's beautiful.
I didn't want to bring out the dark side
With it.
with it.
Yes.
And I didn't know how to talk to people. There would be times when if I was up, feeling good about myself, then I could go and talk to people. And I think probably because at that time I was coming maybe from a good place, so I kind of felt safe. I mean, I see it now. I felt safe in what I was saying because I would be saying it from a good place. Not necessarily from the good spirit, but I would be in that good Susan.
This is a well-meaning,
Well-meaning place.
quality that functions whenever that you're not terrified or petrified or put at ill ease.
But it was to the point where there were times when someone would be walking down the street and I would walk on the other side. When I was a teenager, I'd walk on the other side just so I would avoid having to say something to them.
Especially somebody
Because
you
I
knew?
didn't know what.
Somebody you knew?
Sometimes it's not even that. Like even now, I see someone at the mailbox.
So why you?
I won't go down.
Why are you up talking? You're talking in front of everybody now.
I know. I don't
talking
see
about
them
you.
for some reason now. And it was weird because last night when I realized this, I thought, for the first time, I think I could sit and talk to you.
You are.
And before, you were my authority. You were.
Well, you feel emotional?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I just can't get the words.
Maybe you've said enough.
Maybe.
If you want to come up again,
Okay.
say something. But you said something very
I
profound.
think I'm done.
What did anybody get out of what she said? Did anybody get something? What did you get? Could I pass the microphone?
Thanks.
Yeah. Would you stand?
Roy, what I got was I
She
related.
said a lot.
She did, and very
And she said a lot
succinct.
because the spirit was there. See the spirit. She got it. It's not the words.
But when I was sitting there, it
Spirit.
almost was leaving me. I could feel like me wanting to dumb it down.
But you didn't.
I thought, I've got to get up there now.
Yeah. You did good.
What I got was, for me, it's the fear of rejection. Big time. Like right now, I'm really nervous, but see, I have a hard time talking in front of real people because my facade
Who says these are real people?
doesn't work. Well, at least you. I'm a really good BSer. I have been, and
You do seem like you had a good mouth on you.
my facade started to break down. It took too much energy to keep it going. So I started isolating.
So what you're saying that these people have consciousness, and it's making you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Because I figure if I use my ego and I'm all that,
They'd
they're just going to see right through it.
right through it.
Yeah.
So
I isolate too. I've switched sides of the street, just like you were saying, because of
Can you
I would
Fear.
notice it, but couldn't
Fear.
stop myself.
perceived
I
or
just-
real rejection.
Yeah.
Is my
Can you
big
see
deal.
why people are afraid of me?
Yeah.
They don't want to encounter me. Even important people, even people in positions of power. There's a certain fear. Because their unreality has to deal with my reality. If I go on a radio show, I tend to take it over. So I'm not invited much anymore.
You know, when I was in school and I had to get up and give a speech, I would just be in total terror. And I'd have to have my cards and just literally read off the cards. But now as I'm looking out here at people, I don't see you as... I see you as bodies. I don't see you as people. I can't even see that you're judging me. I can't see that you're thinking anything. You are just a body sitting in a chair, and that feels good. It just. I mean, I'm sorry, but
I get it.
it's.
In other words, but it's not meant to be.
I don't mean to be
Discourteous.
unkind. No, I don't mean
It's not
to.
meant to be discourteed. But if you
It's-
you're looking at a whole group of people.
Yeah,
If you look at this dear lady here, don't you see? You're not seeing more than a body. You see a spirit. See, I see more than a body. I see a body. I see a body if there's nobody home. But if there's somebody home, personally, I see beyond the body. I see a spirit like mine, a kindred spirit.
Yeah,
Isn't it
it's like I can see a spirit over them. I don't see each individual.
Well,
I don't see each.
it's okay.
It's weird.
It's okay to begin with. It's important because you don't see them as authorities. You don't see this massive body.
I get, or
One
they're
per-
judging me, and they
saw-
very well. Any of them can be.
Yeah, but you
It
saw,
doesn't
you saw
matter.
a person before. You saw all these things that connected to it: judgment, looking down.
Yes, and I would be nervous, and
me as
oh,
an
what are they
important
thinking of
authority, and me
me?
as an important authority standing
Yeah.
over you. But now I'm not.
You're
I'm
not.
diminished to a certain point where you can speak to me.
And when you were sitting there, and I know sometimes you were watching him, and sometimes watching me, it was like I could handle it. I was looking directly at you. Where before, it's like I got to turn away if he looks, because he could. I guess probably he could see me.
You understand?
I'm not explaining it very well.
You're doing very well. She's doing very well. It does sound, like a little bit offensive. After all, you. But for the most people, I see them as talking furniture.
And I never wanted to talk because people would think I was stupid.
No.
Or
I understand you because you gave them too much power. You endowed them with qualities they did or didn't have. Because you always felt inferior to people.
yes.
So
Always.
therefore you endowed them with a state or an office they never really held. You know what I mean? To put it simply.
Yeah. I became very independent and had my own little world, confidence. And that's why, unless I was confident and sure of myself, I wouldn't talk to someone, because I wasn't in a good place.
Could you talk to little children?
I can now.
Couldn't before?
I couldn't before.
Why? Why not little children? Because they're brighter. They're very bright, aren't they?
I didn't see them as bright. They liked me. Why? I never knew.
You're gentle.
They would gravitate to me, but I never knew what. I was always never knew what to say to them. I never knew what to say to them. I wanted to talk to them, and my daughter-in-laws are very good at. I know they're coming from the wrong spirit, but they talk to them like they're deep and they understand. Okay, this will help you, so I'm going to kind of guide you.
They're worldly. They're worldly.
They're worldly, and I was not worldly. I was like shallow, and so I never could figure out what to say to them. But I notice with my grandchildren, I've become wonderful with them.
I'm glad.
I'm patient, and actually they're what helped me wake up. I learned you the wrong way. I was very intellectually. I would write, and I knew better than that, but I could never remember you. And my one grandson was spoiled, has everything. And I started watching that, and we'd go over, and they were busy getting him to go from one thing to another. Oh, show grandma this, show grandpa this. And he always was busy. And when I left, I realized he's just not able to be himself, to figure out who he is. He was always busy. So I didn't like going over because they always kind of pressured him to show grandma this, show somebody this,
See,
do this, perform.
You have a set of private thoughts that comes from observing. You have.
And I keep it private.
Yeah, but you need to learn to. You need to say to the parent, your daughter or your son-in-law, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to say, look, you need to stop
Actually, other way.
spoiling that kid.
Yes, I know I need to
And
stand
you
up.
say, look, I have to stand by and see what you're doing about this. So I don't think I really want to come over if you're going to continue. Oh, but you find some words to say.
Uh-huh.
But you need to stand up on that boy's behalf.
I know I
That
do.
will cover
I
a
know.
multitude of sins. If you can help save another person's soul, if you can see the little boy's plight of the little boy's, the father's too cruel, and it happens to be in your own family, but you allow it to happen because you don't know how to stand up to him. So you allow him to be a victim of the father when you could have said something. So if you can stand up and just say something that will make a difference in somebody's life, change that course. The way I'm doing with you, you cover a multitude of sins. A whole lot of sins go away in that one person you help. So the one person you stand up for one of these days, the moment you take a stand against a person that would have got away with something, and that thought you were weak, and suddenly they run into a brick wall, and they back off, and they feel ashamed and respectful. That moment of respect for the good in you is a roundabout way of having respect in the God in themselves. And that you have changed that person's life, but you may not have realized it, but that covers a multitude of sins inside you. A lot of problems go away just because of that. And if you keep marching forward and doing the same thing, you will be rebuking the wicked and holding a mirror of hope for the good. You may think, well, I don't have an education, I don't have this. I don't have an education. I have school when I was 12, 13. I went to work. I don't have an education. Everything, but it's on the job training. You see something, you do it. You see something that needs to be done, you do it. And I never think, thank God, I have that none of that clutter in my brain. Whatever I see, I can do. But I'm not doing everything because I find that I'm following a path that leads me to the thing that I'm ultimately meant to do. But I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do on the way to it. See? And I've forgotten all the things all the people I've met and all the people I've helped and the people that never hurt me anymore. They just couldn't have their way with me, so I wasn't a gate where they could go through. So, see what I'm saying? I'm still learning, I'm still discovering, I'm still thinking about things, and I'm swimming. I swim for an hour, and I'm just thinking about light and gravity and how you can put the machine together. It's coming to my mind as I'm swimming. My mind isn't idle. I'm wondering. I'm not getting an answer necessarily. I'm thinking about, could it be done this way? Could it be done that way? Could it be done this? What if we did this? What if we put this crystal over here? See? I see a movie and something in the scene that catches my attention, some small part of it. You know, I open a magazine. I'm slumming through it, boing. I remember that, and I said to myself, why am I remembering these things? I have a hard time trying to remember something. I have a hard time, impossible. If you want me to learn something, history, whatever you want me to learn, I don't have any use for it. I don't want my mind cluttered with all that. Do me a favor, leave me alone with it, unless, see, it has meaning. But nobody can give me the information that I need to put together as meaning. Only my Creator has the power to do that. Jesus himself said, call no man teacher, call no man father. You only have one teacher and father, and you know where he is within you, right? But people don't hear that. They still look for teachers. And in the Catholic religion, they call the man father, the preacher father, right? Minister. What's wrong with these people? They can read the Bible. It says, don't call people teacher. You have one teacher within you, and you have to trust that. Well, all my kids, only one kid went to college and he didn't complete it. All the other kids left school early. I took them out of school, and all successful. Okay, very successful. Whatever they see, they can do. I mean, really super successful. But not because I've motivated them, because I've allowed them to unfold like flowers. And in spite of the fact that they didn't have a good home, they had conflict in that home, I still overcame that. So ending up as the rightful owner and master of that home, as a husband and father, which I should. Every man should have, in spite of every attempt to dethrone him. So it works out in the long run. And they retain their the woman is that retained their femininity, the boys retain their masculinity.
When I noticed that about my grandson, I told my husband I didn't want to go over there for a while, because I said, I knew I needed to speak up and say something, but I knew I would be coming from a wrong place.
And now?
And I see now that I think I can do that.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
You've got to.
I do. I knew I did, but I didn't know how to do it, because I knew I would never see him. If I spoke up, they would just...
Well, how come you know how to do it now? What's the difference? Didn't you grab hold of something? Didn't something activate it?
Something is different. I know I can do... It doesn't matter if they don't let me come over. I need to... It's something I need to do it. I don't know when I'll do it, but I mean, I know I can do it.
Pleaser. You've got to be a God pleaser. You can't be a God pleaser and a people pleaser at the same time, can you?
Yeah.
Which one you choose?
God.
So you do understand when you do speak up, you're going to have the rug pulled from under you.
Yeah.
They're going to reject you.
Yeah.
You're going to bear that. It's going to be painful when they pull the rug, but you need them.
But
you want them. You want
I do.
Them to.
I want that.
That's necessary that they pull. Take back what they gave you. Isn't worth anything. Let the rug be pulled. Let them take it back. Then you feel the pain here, but you feel the pain of them withdrawing their support. Yes, sir.
And one of the gifts you'll get out of that is know you never needed that rug in the first place.
What was that again?
You never needed that rug in the first place, and you'll never need it again.
Yeah.
You built your house upon the sand instead upon the rock. Didn't Jesus talk about the rains coming? And great was the fall of the house because it was built on sand. That's the rug of other people's approval. See? But just to finish off the idea.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. See, you don't have to say sorry, you didn't do anything wrong. Am I right?
Well, I interrupted you.
No, you didn't. I interrupted you. See, you shouldn't let me get away with it either. But it's all right if you wanted to. It's just a point. But what I learned from that is that intuitively, the Creator was making me observe and naturally remember something that didn't seem to be important at the time. But it was important. But He causes me to notice something that other people wouldn't notice or wouldn't care about. Or other people might be traumatized into remembering it, which is bad. I'm remembering something without any effort. I don't know why I'm remembering it. Why did I notice it? Why do I remember it? it so happens, and I had to look very carefully to see this happening, that the falling seed, the baby cry, the article in the newspaper, or whatever it was, a scientific, someone saying something, a remark, can't even remember all the things that it could be. But all of a sudden, all those portions come together in a meaning. And had I not, so in other words, God makes me aware of different things without effort on my part to retain them. And that's odd, you know? That's odd that light goes through a crystal. As I was saying yesterday, remember? Why am I taking note? Why did God teach me to be a diamond cutter? Why was my father die? I become a diamond cutter. All of a sudden, I hear that light goes through a diamond. 40%, see? Diamond. I didn't like to be a diamond cutter, but it was sweatshop work. But never mind, I was good at it. And I made the best of it. But diamond, light goes through a crystal, goes down 40% of speed, it comes out the other side. Why am I interested in that? Nobody else is. Science is not interested. They don't care. They just know it does. So they can use it to build things, be it televisions and whatever it is, make calculations and know how to measure the distance to the moon and trajectory and blah, blah, blah. They don't understand why things are so. I'm interested in why is that? And so why am I noticing this and nobody else is? Well, because I don't see anybody giving any answer to that at all, or anything else for that matter. And all of a sudden it occurs to me that all the things I said yesterday, that light is being carried along by another force, like a wind. And the wind is not as strong as it goes through the transparent material like glass or water or air or the diamond in this case. It doesn't work as strong, but the particle light goes through and comes out, and the wind picks it up on the other side. Then I say, that missing wind must be gravity. I'm not a scientist yet, but he's giving me to notice things, and slowly I'm noticing more and more things that have connection to my future. They're not disconnected things. They're now connecting things. So I'm focusing more and more and more, and I'm understanding more and more about what nobody else knows about. The mind, the body, the spirit, the physics, the dark side, the bright side. See? And we shall all be taught of God, the good book says. We shall all be taught. Therefore, what you know, when you see a wrong, the beginning of this is to be true to that self that loves you, and that gives you to see, and that you owe the expression of that seeing. I owe the expression of seeing. I write a thesis, some of which I keep a secret because it's too dangerous for me to let it.
Even though I couldn't correct that, the mother and father with what they were doing with the child, there was something that led to that to help me to see what was wrong with him. Is I have a granddaughter from the other son, and I watched her, and she's really a bright child. And when she would wave, she would sit there and she would look at her hand. And she would go like that, and I could see her separate from her body.
Yes.
And
that's what you're doing now. Look at your hand. It's also separate. See, it doesn't look at your hand now. As you do that, put a distance between you and your hand. Just put a little distance, like it's not your hand. It could be anybody's hand. Have you ever had one of those rubber hands that it feels kind of weird?
Yeah.
And it looks like. Doesn't it feel? Does your hand feel like
it's
not yours?
Right. It's just something moving.
Yeah, that's right. You can move it. Who understands what I'm talking about? That's called being objective. And of course, you can actually look at your thoughts the same way. And now we're coming back to what you're doing now. This ability to stand back from your thoughts opens the. Say it again. The ability to stand back from thought is God-given, because people who meditate and cannot get anywhere are caught up with words like you were at one time with me.
Oh, yeah.
See? To a degree that you're in that state where you are really misunderstanding things, are not ready, but you desperately need some spiritual guidance because you know that something's missing in your life, but you're very conditioned and people-pleasing and personality-oriented. Superior people, you're inferior. They must know, I don't know. So you're studying my words. But now you know there's something behind the words. There's something. Cruel people could have a bow is loaded with a poisonous arrow of word. But then good people, I hope I'm good people, load the word with something spiritual to counter the negative, the poison, the antivirus, the anti-poison. So you see my words lead you back to that state of mind.
When I stopped writing and everything and I threw the papers away, then I started listening to you, but I would, as you would say a word, I would repeat it in my head. It was like I couldn't, it wasn't going in one ear or the other. It was like, okay, if I'm saying something, I'm saying it right behind it.
You're seeing something behind it?
No. I wasn't seeing it. It was, I had to say your words right behind it.
Yes.
And then, but I kept meditating, and then one day I realized I wasn't doing that anymore. It was going in one ear.
Yeah,
well, I still get caught in my thoughts.
No,
still.
but it's beautiful. She because of her the intent, the purity of heart, which is left over from being a child, there comes a point where a transition is made. If you stay with the meditation long enough, some people get it right away.
I didn't.
But if you stay with it and you know there's something there, but you're not getting it, it will happen on its own. The love of the Creator is somehow will separate you at a certain point, and suddenly you find yourself looking at words. You know how I remember, I'm in the swimming pool, and I'm like this. And all of a sudden the word potato came into my mind. I said, and it was going, potato. What the hell does that mean? And I'm looking at that word, and all of a sudden it sounded like, well, it wasn't a potato. See, because the word in your head, when you think of a potato, when you think of the word potato, you're actually almost tasting it. It is the thing. And so when words are the thing, and they throw words at you, it's like, if they insult you, it's like being hit with a brick, with being hit with a basket, with a baseball bat.
When I was repeating your words, I was still trying to make it the thing, wasn't I?
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
See how she understands this now? This is her own understanding of looking at this. I didn't say that. See that? See the mistake?
Yeah.
Now you could hear me, and you could hear the word, and you go through one ear and come out the other, and what comes out is an understanding. Oh, I see what you mean. Throw the words away. Knowledge, good knowledge, brings you to understanding. When you understand it, knowledge is knowledge. Isn't that sweet? See what just happened to you just that second? Release, the absolute release of it. Isn't it? Hear it. Knowledge, good knowledge, can lead you to understanding. But especially, the Bible's hard. It's all there. But if the person has the Bible in their heart, he throws the knowledge away. You don't have to remember it. I remember bits and pieces of it. But when I read it, oh, that's what that means. Put the Bible down and let it germinate. It germinates.
I never knew how to do that. I was always shallow. It would only go so far. I could never. I think it only went so far because I was. Oh, I'm sorry.
What we need is to have a louder volume so that you can hear it from long away.
I could.
Is anyone okay?
I could only go so far. Okay, I was shallow. I could only go so far with my intellect because, number one, I knew I wasn't supposed to go that way in the intellect, and I would go so far. It's just like when I would search in religions and stuff, I would go so far until I realized that's not the way, and I'd go the other way.
What's the other way?
I got well, I'd go find another religion and see if that's the way. And, you know, I went through Church of Religious Science, positive thinking, and all of these. My family thought it was nuts and always thought I was lost.
You were.
And I was. I was. But, okay, back to being shallow. I was shallow because I would only go so far in the intellect, and something would stop me. But I didn't know how to go with the spirit, or to get that understanding.
What do you think?
What stopped me?
What do you think stopped you? It was the spirit.
It was the spirit, and I always thought it was because I was stupid or dumb or
No,
yeah.
But that's the lie. You felt. You again. That's another way the lie gets to you. It made you think you're too stupid to learn, so you.
Because it really was the wrong way that I was trying to get.
But it's the
understanding. I wouldn't have gotten understanding. I would have gotten more knowledge.
No, but the idea that you were too dumb.
I was too
is
dumb.
Not dumb. You're not too dumb. It wasn't. It's not. That wasn't the truth. The truth is, it wasn't the way.
It wasn't the way.
If you buy the idea it's too dumb, you'll be discouraged from ever finding that truth. Because you think you're too dumb for it.
Because I remember I called you one time, and you had told me you're a shallow person, and I knew I was a shallow person, and I kept looking at that, and I thought, how do I get deep? I'm thinking here, but
this is a good conversation.
I didn't know how to get deep because I was stuck in
me.
I was stuck in you, learning you intellectually too.
Yes.
I was still learning you intellectually.
You hear me say it, let it go through one ear.
Oh, I know, I could hear you. I could hear you, but it was like I wanted it so bad, and I couldn't hang on to just a little bit. I always wanted you to say it a different way.
But you see,
it was like
wanting it too bad is again a will.
A will.
A will.
Yeah.
These are all little traps.
Because I would listen to you, and it was like, oh, if you just say it a different way, I might get it. You know?
I do say it a different way.
I know, and I kept listening. It took a long time.
But I've learned something here the last few weeks or maybe few months, because I see people coming back to me 30 years later. You know, they listen to me 20 years later, and I realize it does take a while. It's there somewhere in the beginning, but they have to go through life, and they have to go through the struggle. They have to do it their way. They have to go through those little complications you're just describing, and then at a certain point, they kind of want to give up. And that's where I get them. When you see, because you're going to give up to something, and if I'm there in time, I'll have you. If I'm there in the right place.
You know, I meditated when I first heard you because I thought, oh, this guy's got the answer. And I started meditating, and I came out of my body, and I was watching myself. But then the dark side got in, and it showed
I was an out-of-body experience. I never wanted that.
No, I did it, though. And I was walking on a cliff, and all these people, ugly people, were grabbing at me and trying to pull me down.
That's an out-of-body.
And
experience.
I stopped meditating,
I know
which
you
was.
should stop.
Oh.
You should have
Oh,
stopped.
I should have stopped.
You should
I
have stopped
did.
then because you're not doing it right. That's an out-of-body experience. And there are certain groups of people who teach you out-of-body experiences, but it's very dangerous because if it's true that you have a body and soul, and they're kind of sewed together while you're alive to some degree, the best you can do is become objective and stay in command of your body as long as God is in command of your soul. But if you're lost in your thoughts and feelings, then He can't, then you're subject to an emotional order of things like an animal, see? But out-of-body experience is if you have out-of-body experience and you think that's the way to go, there are a small number of people who do think that way. You've got to be very careful because when you come back into your body, there may be something there instead of you, and you can't get back in, so to speak. So it could be a very dangerous experience. The CIA did things like that, remote viewing.
Yeah.
And so it ended up, they had to quit it because people went went very weird because it wasn't them anymore. And that's all hush hush. Well, so you're not looking to be out of body, you're looking to be disattached. So you sit lightly, on your cranium. But now you realize now that there are good words and people coming from a good place and people coming from a bad place. And then you're not supposed to study anything really hard. You just search, just look. Go through the day, turn the pages of newspaper, turn the pages of magazine, watch this and watch that, and all of a sudden you start to notice things. And one noticing leads to another noticing things until you're noticing all the time some things don't matter. It's a nice day, yeah, it passes. See? But all of a sudden in that nice day, or something, a bird flies in a certain way. And if you're a scientist like myself, it means something. You know what I mean? It means something. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So who says she doesn't have much to say? Well, let's see. This gentleman here hasn't said much. It would be nice to hear from you once in a while. Want to?
I don't really know what to say.
Oh, you got the same problem as... Same problem, he doesn't know what to say. Have you enjoyed the seminar?
Yeah.
What have you learned? Come up here and sit it with me. It's your fault. Good. I gotta drink something too, I think. Sit here for a minute. Let's see if we can just make a little crack in that defense mechanism. Have you learned anything? Have you not got questions? You spent money to come here?
Yeah.
Right? You're very awful shy. What are you afraid of? Why can't cat got your tongue?
Yeah. I'm always pretty nervous.
What?
I'm always pretty nervous.
Why? What's going on inside your head all the time?
I'm
Nice-looking young fellow. You need to be more outgoing, more vivacious, more alive, more happy. You're stunted somewhere.
Yeah, I'd like to be more lively.
What's stopping you? Haven't you heard? How long have you been here? You've been 2 days here?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Didn't you hear what I told about burying resentment? Did that not strike a chord?
I sort of understand it intellectually.
Yeah, but that doesn't do much good, does it? No, I'm not criticizing you because it may take a while. So you may leave here not learning a whole lot.
Sure.
But you may 20 years from now, you may,
I'd rather
it takes a while. I've learned that I know people 20, 30 years, and they still haven't got it, and all of a sudden, like yourself.
30 for me.
30 for you? How many for you?
No.
But it's a long time, hasn't
Long
it?
time, since-
20 years?
Yeah, 20 years.
See, I've known it. And I've counseled them. It didn't get through. But all of a sudden, I have to be patient. That's why I say I got to be patient with my wife. Because she's got the same thing. She mimics me as if she understands me, and I know she doesn't. And that's very dangerous because she's also patient with me. Stonewall Jackson is patient with me. It's very confusing to deal with that sort of thing. Can be, but since I know every trick in the book, it's okay, I'm okay with it. Now you know a lot of it. So tell me about your mom and dad.
They're pretty good people. I mean, they're...
Well, what makes you so stunted? What kind of work do you do?
I work in a cabinet shop. I'm like in the office dealing with customers. And
You do?
Uh-huh.
You do it with customers like this? What can I do for you today? You're like a blue shirt or a white shirt.
Sort of, actually.
Couldn't you, if you're sitting here, do you feel uncomfortable?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Do you feel irritated with me? You feel irritated with yourself?
Yeah, irritated with myself.
What's the irritation? Because that's what's killing you. That energy is keeping you blocked, so that your real happy little self can't come through.
Yeah.
You want to cry a little bit? What do you feel?
I feel just weird and nervous.
Close your eyes a minute. See if we can help you a little bit. So what I did to that lady just now?
Yeah.
You do it? As my finger moves up towards here, like I'll just go through the motion of it. Now you follow the finger slowly with your eyes rolled up, and your eyes are flickering very much now already, aren't they? And your eyes will get stuck together. See, it's difficult to open your eyes, isn't that correct? Difficult, difficult. See that? Try again. One more time. Follow the finger. Follow my finger upward. And slowly but surely. And the eyes flicker. See? And that means you're doing it correctly. And now as I'm going to move the thumb down, you follow it, but the eyes will still continue to flicker, but they get stuck. Is that correct? Feel it? Feel that? Try to open your eyes, see what happens. You did. Okay. Let it go. Are you meditating?
Yeah. Yeah, I am. I'm trying.
How long have you been doing it?
For 2 or 3 years.
You have?
For 2 or 3 years, yeah.
Yeah. So, you were just affected by the words?
By the words of the meditation?
I want to know if you're being hypnotized by the meditation.
I could be.
It produce, or you're just following them and trying to learn?
I don't really listen to it I just listened to it once, and then later on I got Jesse's and I listened to that. And
Oh, you're working with Jesse Peterson?
Uh-huh.
Jesse has a meditation?
Yeah, sort of similar.
Is it similar?
Sort of similar, yeah. No, I only listened to it.
Yeah, well,
each of them
maybe,
once.
see, Jesse I love, but he may not get that right. So I've got sort of like 60 years experience.
Sure.
So I know where all those little things fall into place. And you're following a man, but be careful. You can't be following. You're following a man, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
And when if you deal with me, you're not following a man. You're following the light within you. I won't have you follow the man, not if I can help it. See, so the danger is you following a man. You got that man on a pedestal.
Well, that's
You're
when...
looking up to him. You're looking up to him, right?
Sure, I look up to both.
No, I don't want anybody to look up to me. You can respect me for what I do. You can appreciate me, but I don't want anybody looking up to me. I want no followers. You better use, before you leave here, would you make sure he gets the CD? Sean? Oh, Brian, would you make sure that he gets a CD before he leaves here? Because he hasn't started on what he needs. You need to follow me for a while.
Do catch myself trying to be like you or like him.
Don't want to be like me.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like him. You got to be like you. You got to find out who you are. You have something to say. You are shown things to say and do, and you lack a stand-upness. You lack the ability to stand up to authority. If you don't learn to stand up to bullies or authorities, professors, I don't know who they are, that you see they're out of order, or they're wrong in their theory or something, excuse me, professor, if you're at school, where do you get that idea from? And he explains himself and you argue with him. You have to learn to be able to make your point. You just can't be an imitation of another human being. You mustn't be. You may look at me and say, yes, I'd like to be like him. I would like to be like Jesus. but I can't imitate him. I can't study his language and speak his words. It's not the same thing. I like to be like Churchill. But I can, if I study all his words and try to be like, I'd be just a phony. I have to have all of his experiences and everything he is, not just a shallow behavior. See? The look-alike. Actor on stage part. Don't work. Never will. But I would recommend that you not imitate me or Jesse. Jesse Peterson is a young man I helped a long time ago to start his own organization.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes?
Doesn't self-doubt rob you of your identity?
Yes.
And then when it'll make you psychotic.
Yes.
And then you can only feel that emptiness from the outside.
That's right.
Without knowing the way back.
That's correct. That's very well. Right on the money. You're not that way.
I used to be.
Not now.
I was talking to Brian last night. I really don't have much trouble speaking up. But I don't know why I tear up or choke up when I talk to you. I called you about...
You're in love.
Yeah, that's probably true. I called you about 4 years ago. My wife had a lot of strokes. She recently died. She died in January. And I went to the Los Angeles seminar. I made that trip really just to shake your hand. I just went, and I did that.
Thank you.
And I went to Las Vegas hoping to glean some wisdom and understanding to help me deal with what was going on with my wife.
Yes.
And I don't know that I came away with that, but I still enjoyed the seminar.
It would have been better if the people from Las Vegas came, but the station had changed hands and the announcement never got out, so we got mostly people from out of town.
You know, I'm the little boy that you talk about a lot that had asthma. You know,
Really?
As a child. Had an older brother and a younger brother, and was on a farm for a while, and my mother wouldn't let me help my father.
She's overprotected you.
Yeah, and
That sucks.
it,
I'm sorry, it does. It's the kind of mother I talk about. Gives kids that.
and it really made me psychotic. It really made me psychotic, and I realized how psychotic I was. I dropped out of college and just took off, you know, and I realized how much at a loss I was with myself, and was looking to hand myself over to somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because and I saw that in myself. I saw that
It's a
weakness.
good thing it was me and not somebody else.
No, I didn't find you then.
No.
I didn't find you then. I first heard you in 1980 and was in immediate rapport. And you really helped me a lot with self-conflict and doubt. And I mean, that was instantaneous, and boy, you saved my life, I know. But I kind of fell away from that because you always say, don't do anything unless you see it for yourself. And of course, that's true. And I realize that's true. And there were things I wasn't willing.
The ideal is always to want to see it for yourself, but if you're psychotic and you've grown up that way, it's almost like I have to bring you up a little bit. So you could just enjoy listening to my program, read my books. Just turn the pages until you find something interesting,
Right.
and close the book and see if let it germinate.
Right.
I always recommend, if you listen to me, don't listen too much. You know, listen till you understand them and turn it off. And walk away. And let it germinate. And if you open a book, open any page. You don't have to read it from the very beginning. Just go from page to page. Oh, wow, I never saw that before. Close the page. You may want to read another paragraph or two, if it has meaning. But what I wanted to do is germinate. It's sort of like an awakening. But if you read too much,
I realize
it
that.
gets in
Oh,
the
yeah.
way. The words, all of a sudden, the words get in the way. You want to want more. So yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I just want to say something. As a musician and just a practicing musician now, it's a hobby now. I know that.
Professional.
Yes. I and it just when I would listen to other artists too much, if I was like
Become them.
yeah, and it would come through in my playing, and it would frustrate me very much. But I would go out and I'd get the albums and I'd listen. But then when I would try to make my
Yes, of course.
I couldn't help but I couldn't help but just it's just an observation. I just wanted to say it really quickly. But yes, as a musician, I would end up mimicking those people those other musicians and the artists that I like too much.
I don't like to read about anything I don't like to read much because there's a tendency for me to rewrite in different words the same things I see that. And if you look at positive thinking books, they're all rewritten words, the same thing that other people have written, but they've written them a different way. You know, and so it's like, it's so much more beautiful just to discover for yourself and just forget the race you're running. I remember when I was doing 100 yards in the Olympics, London Olympics for Junior Olympics. It was a pretty big event just before the war. And I ran the 100 yards and I looked and I was running fast and I was winning, but I looked sideways to see how far ahead I was. You know, I was looking straight ahead. And the fact that I turned my head, I lost the race. I came in second. I got a medal for another one. But you have to run your own race. You can't compare yourself with anybody else. And I can't compare, I don't read much about Einstein. I like Einstein. But I arrived at Einstein's theory of relativity as much as I understand of it. All the missing parts of it. But just by being interested in some of the ideas, but not fully, completely understanding them, but somehow, in my own way, as the years went by, I came up to seeing what he said. So I can read what he said now, but I come up for underneath the words, because now I'm looking for words. I'm looking for scientific words to discover, to express a language in a language which I don't have the language for. I'm looking for the language I can communicate the ideas I've discovered, and guess what? It turns out to be the theory of relativity, general theory and light, except I can make improvements on it. I see where he went wrong. It's not, so I didn't have, so I've actually rediscovered it. So I'm reading it, and so when I read the Bible, what I'm doing is bearing witness to what I already know. But I also have now more sophisticated words to use. I now appreciate those words. They're so much more beautiful than I could put together. So sometimes you hear me say, be therefore transformed by the renewing of your mind from within. That's a command. But before that time, it's just words. What does it mean to be removed from your mind within? But I sit here and talk to a person, put my hand on them, and say, now, do you understand where you are right now? Now become renewed through your mind from within. A person understands it because he's separate from his thoughts. He now grasps in understanding. In other words, suddenly the meaning becomes extracted from the words, and it has efficacy. It has a power that the words themselves never contained, but they were trying to transmit. See, you were stuck in the words. And you must have your own music. You've got to have your own music. There's nothing wrong with listening to Bach and Beethoven, because whatever it is, there's some good music out there you just enjoy. But you don't want to study it. You can appreciate it when you hear it again. You see? Got to have your own music. So maybe you'll be a great musician one day. You know, because you're going to bring forth something good and new, that something has been written before. It's not all been written, is it? The music, not all the music. The junk's been written.
A lot of junk out there. A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this lady first, because. Yeah. All right, you take yours first.
Roy, I'm a realtor, and when I first went into the business, there was a little shock because I had been a stay-at-home mom in the pushing and can you get to this goal and the competition. And I said, I don't need to compete. I know what I have to do every day. I just get up and I do my job. And I secretly wouldn't become one of them.
What is the question you asked? You're making a statement.
Yeah. I found that I just still couldn't make a career of it, even though I separated myself from them.
My son would say, who had a real estate company of his own, it was the sixth largest in the country.
I heard you say that.
Smallest towns in the country.
I don't need to be top of the ladder.
Yeah, ERA. He was top of his class. He was an ambassador to. He did $20 million worth of real estate in Grants Pass when he was in the business, and they sent him over to Japan to become an ambassador representing the whole ERA organization, even though he owned his own real estate company. He was part of that club. But he would say to me that I don't like real estate, it's parasitical.
Yes, yes.
It's not parasitical. Now he's in the radio business, and he don't like that either, because he finds so many wicked people in there. And people in that world are not what they appear to be.
Right.
Movie stars are not what they appear to be. Talk show hosts are not what they appear to be. You know, politicians are not what they appear to be. It's amazing how they can really put a face on for you and you may completely believe in them, but their real life is something else. I'm in that so well, I see it. But on my program is what you hear is what you get.
Yeah.
See, I buy my own time so I can say what I want. I'm not a managed person. So I'm not rich and wealthy. I have to depend on this stingy lot over here. Actually, you've been very generous. Thank you very much.
Did you want it?
Can I ask you about when you say you read something and then it ruminates?
No,
Now,
no. I read something and I remember it.
Okay, are you using your thought at that time?
No, I'm reading.
No.
I'm scared. I'll tell you how I read a
Scan
book. I read my Bible. Oh. This is how I read the Bible.
No, I can't quite read that way.
Big words are better.
Oh, you're looking for something to catch your eye?
That's right.
Literally.
I'm looking. She got it.
Yeah.
I'm looking. I do not know what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought.
I'm always looking, but I do not know what I'm looking for. If I knew what I was looking for, I'd know it.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't need the book. Oh, wow.
Now, isn't that a simple thing?
Yep.
It is, but now, okay, once you find it, how does it ruminate? Because
I don't know. I don't
but
know.
it's not really ruminating in thought.
No.
I mean, I know when God speaks to us, He doesn't speak in words. I know it's revelation.
Right.
Like I've had those. But when you read and something is not quite clear,
I don't read.
You don't get a revelation.
Roy, I saw when you said that, it catches his eye. I mean, it's almost like.
It leaps out of.
Yeah, it's like you.
This is what you're supposed to look at now.
Yeah,
That's what you're supposed to understand.
Well, yeah, I do not. How could you look for something when you don't know what it is you're looking for? It's enough to drive you crazy. But so now I'm in science. So I'm not reading all the science books. I go crazy. It's just a hodgepodge. If you try to learn science these days, it's like it's too much. It comes at you too much. But I got my own. I'm interested in science in my own way. I'm not being paid. I don't have to jump through any hoops. I just love what I'm doing. I'm curious as to discover what, I want to know why many things. But right now I'm on a track. The scanning for things has reached a point where I'm educated. I have a sophisticated education. If you read those material out there, you'll see it's very sophisticated. It's so sophisticated, when physicists read it, they lose sleep over it because they're saying something, but it's opposite to what they've been taught. They think gravity is a pull, and it's not what it is. And if gravity is push, then it explains all the anomalies of science they've never been able to explain. All of a sudden, everything becomes explainable. Everything. And so but I've said it in a very simple way, from my heart. I've written it without benefit of anybody coaching me how to write anything. All I know is that the universe had a beginning, and I don't like the Big Bang. And within a very short time, I was able to see why you couldn't have a Big Bang. See, in other words, I don't know where I'm going with this. Look at this. Let me just show you something. Just let me talk about the Big Bang, then we come back and you can have a big dinner. But just let me talk about it. I was talking before the Lewis and Clark University physics group of people, physicists. And I said, first of all, I'm not going to tell you what I said, because that's another thing. I had 10 minutes to say something and 2 minutes for questions. I did a good job. But I said, in order for me to make my point, I have to disabuse you of the Big Bang. And you forgive me, but I talk to those scientists like they were naughty kids. I have my authority. I have a right not to be timid before anybody, right? And confident. I said, now, besides the question where something infinitely dense, small, and hot, where could it come from? Like a seed of a tree being the seed of the whole universe. There's some intelligence that had to make that, but why would he put it in a tiny little lump? As small as the head of a pin. But then that doesn't make sense, because the head of a pin is not infinitely small, infinitely dense, and infinitely hot. What the hell do you mean by infinitely? Nobody says a word. But let me tell you, you know, as well as I know, a 6th grade student would know, if he wasn't brainwashed like you people, that infinitely hot is matter. Whatever form it is, it's heat. You call it hot, you give it a name, it's heat. It is some kind of material matter, some kind of matter. Plasma, whatever form it takes before science, whatever it is, it occupies space and time. It's infinitely hot, dense. But that you're saying now, it does occupy space and time. Dense means a space. Infinitely hot, dense, and small. Well, that's also defining space. Now, but you said, wait a minute, this thing doesn't occupy space and time, because you're saying what couldn't exist because it couldn't exist because everything that's material, hot, dense, and small, has to occupy space and time. You cannot have one without the other. Materiality, such as this is, in whatever form it takes, cannot exist without space and time. And space and time doesn't exist without materiality of any kind. They cannot exist without one another. They have to come into existence together. That's what I say in my material. Space and time and matter come into existence instantly. But I said, this is my crowning glory. How could what could not exist in the first place without space and time create time and space to exist in the second place so it could exist in the first place when it couldn't? It's not, you're contradicting yourself.
Yeah, well, Roy, I never can understand how science can uphold that theory.
And they're mad.
When it obviously contradicts both general relativity and special relativity. It actually contradicts everything we've learned from Einstein.
Right now, but there wasn't a single word that was said. It was dead silence.
Why are they so stubborn about this whole Big Bang thing? It doesn't make sense on so many levels.
When I finished, they probably forgot about it already, because they have, in order for them to to get a degree, they have to buy it.
It's like a religion.
It's a religion.
Because it doesn't make any sense, because there's the universe is the same whether you're at the far end of it over there or here.
We're talking about the beginning here.
But the sameness of it now, because when you look to the far end of the universe,
spare me we are now about talking science. I don't want to talk about science because it gets too complicated.
But it doesn't make any sense that they.
It doesn't make sense. It absolutely doesn't make sense, because Descartes says, you know, that you can't have one without the other. It's not possible to have space and time without matter, or matter without space and time.
Exactly.
They're extensions of what they are. Einstein said. He says, let's not go into it now.
Yeah.
I'm getting hungry. But the point is, they just don't get it.
Right.
Because you see, you couldn't have a spatial geometry if somebody goes bang.
Right.
All you've got is two dimensions. One dimension, two if you count collapse. There's no spatial geometry.
Right.
But it's only one direction, outward. Let me give you an example. If you drive, before we go, if you drive a car 60 miles an hour with a wind, what's the speed of the wind? What's the relative? It's zero, right?
Right.
If you drive a car 60 miles an hour into a wind, the relative speed is 120 miles an hour. The 60 mile an hour wind. Say, okay? So you see, according to them, if there's a big bang, the whole universe is rushing outwards. So if you're going with time with it, your traveling with time would be slower in one direction, but it's always the same in every direction you go.
Yeah, that's
see?
right, you're
So
right.
how do they explain that? And then you've only got one dimension, two if you count collapse.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't.
Can't make
No,
any
it
structure.
doesn't.
There's no spatial structure.
No.
There's no geometry. See? There's no static geometry. Anyway, it's all in there. If you've got time to read it, you can read it. Well, have lunch? Did we have fun?
Thank you.
And you learned something about this lady. You're somebody's mother. And she's not here for me to fix her.